This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Carter Wilcoxon, CEO and founder of CSI Financial Group. I am pleased to be joined by our network attorney, Jennifer Surmacz. Jennifer, can you hear us okay?
I can. Hi, everybody.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, Jennifer, I'm really appreciative of the time that you're going to spend with us today, and I know it shouldn't take more than maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And what I really want to do, the goal and the agenda and the objective here is really to get a deeper dive into your role that you play in our 7 steps, which, as everybody can see on the screen here, this is step number 4. As a refresher and as a reminder, step 1, we've already done the client intake with the client, whether that's coming from our cause and marketing initiative or what we do our educational workshops out there to the general public. So this is step 1, done the client intake already. We've already set up the meeting with the specific trust directives specialist, Don Dacey. Clients have already done their client training where they do their advanced medical directives with Stacy Pearson. And then now they're going to be funneled over to you, Jennifer, who is going to do the reviewing of the applicability and the suitability of the documents. So this is a phone interview. In most cases, I know sometimes we have clients that come into the office if they're there locally in the St. Louis area, but for the most part, this is the part where you are going to be doing the review of their documents for all of those other steps that we just got through talking about. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Jennifer, and just talk about a little bit more in depth on what happens in the phone interview and what you do with respects to everything that we have the bullet points up here on the screen right now.
Okay. All right. So usually when a client gets to my part and I'm having the meeting with them, they, like you said, they've already spoken with Dawn and started making their trust, their big umbrella trust, and then making it specific to them. They've already been trained with Stacy, so they can log in like they were logging into their checking account and follow along with me as I'm talking to them about their documents. And really what I do is kind of twofold. Number 1 is I educate the client. Most of them know that they need a trust and a will and an estate plan and all those things, but they don't know exactly why. So at that point, that's when they can ask me all the questions that come from the legal standpoint, and I want to just educate them and tell them why a trust is essential and how it's going to help them and how the legal documentation works. But then we also go into a much deeper dive than they had done initially with Dawn. And when I review their data and their special trust directives, you have to get a sense as an attorney what their family situation is, and really just review the choices that they've made. Make sure that the distribution choices and how they've set up the functionality of their trust is suitable to their situation and it applies to their situation. So that's my main goals. 1 is education, and then 2 is to make sure that the entire estate document actually applies to their current situation and is also suitable for what they're wanting to do. So really my job is to guide the client through an educational system that teaches them the legal ramifications, the consequences, whether those be good consequences or bad consequences of the wording or the distribution choices that they've chosen in their estate plan.
Perfect. So now, just out of curiosity, I know we've got a few different steps along the process, and I'm sure that those educational steps that you're teaching those clients, are you also going a little bit into the congressional recognized e-signatures and why this is so dynamic and unique to really leveraging today's technology?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest things when people say e-sign, that is part of the educational part of it, is not just telling them what a trust is, but then also how we can do an electronic signature and it functions just as your regular signature. That kind of legal stuff, yes, the federal government passed the Electronic Communications Act. Everybody all of your emails you get has that little paragraph at the bottom, right? That says, if you receive this in error, you must delete it, that stuff. That's because of the federal Electronic Communications Act. And then every state after that has also passed an electronic signature communication act that's kind of modeled off of the federal one. So that's a big part also, is to educate them on the law, that not only is the federal government allowing for e-signatures, because that's the way technology is going, but also the states are doing it. And for instance, I am licensed in both Oklahoma and Missouri, and both states are doing e-filing for lawsuits or for divorces. You no longer go up to the clerk and give a piece of paper that they stamp to file a petition for a lawsuit. You actually have to file it electronically. So the states' governments themselves are already moving to this electronic signatures. And unfortunately, the legal field takes a little time to catch up to that stuff, and especially estate planning, where we've been doing it with paper and all this stuff for so long. So now showing the clients that not only is this federally authorized, it's state authorized, all the states are doing it themselves, and why do it the old way? Let's do it the fast way, which is get your estate plan done digitally, have it, within these 3 meetings, have it already e-signed, have it, you do have the master signatory at the very end that you need to sign and notarize and upload to the system, but all the other documents are already electronically signed. And then at that point, by the end of the conversation with me, once I've finalized all of their specific directives, the client then has the option to just print out their PDF of their trust if they want to, and because they've already electronically signed everything. So everything's a good go, everything's applicable, it's suitable to them, and it's also in effect immediately. And if they'd so choose, they can print it out right there if they want to from the convenience of their own home. So teaching them about electronic stuff, how the law is working electronically, is also a big part. It's just like logging into your checking account, but it's not your checking account, it's your estate plan. That's how I tend to teach them about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have a lot of positive feedback about that, actually. Most of my clients don't like coming into attorneys, right? Because they know every time they have to come into the attorney to get their estate plan drafted that I'm going to charge them for it. Where here, they don't even have to come in to see me if they don't want to. We can do it over the phone. I can log into their account, see exactly what's going on. They can log in. They're following right along with me as I go through all of their choices. And then at the end of the session, they can print out their stuff.
And again, I know the beauty of the system, and I know that you're a big fan of this, seeing as you've been in this industry for quite some time now, and you've had to do it, the way you had to do it originally until this platform was shared with you. We have a process that enables you to communicate with the clients in the Notepad Center. Do you find that the clients, that's something that they push back on, or do you feel like that's something that they really appreciate that they didn't know formerly?
Oh, no, it's fantastic. Everybody loves it. And so the Notepad Center is basically an email system in their console. So if they log in and they change something, say they want to disinherit their firstborn son and them got into a fight over the holidays and they want to disinherit him, they can log into their estate plan, go into the section where it has disinherited family members. They can type that son's name in there, and then they can shoot me a notepad message and say, hey, Jennifer, I just changed something in my estate plan. Can you log in and look at it? It is a beautiful system. It means I've had clients make changes while they were on their iPad in the terminal of an airport. They were leaving, to go on a trip, and they sent me a notepad. Hey, I made some changes in preparation of this trip. Can you check them out? Very easy. I log in, I look at it and say, either, yeah, that looks great if that's what you want, or no, maybe you want to word it this way, and change it for them and word it. It's fast, it's simple, and the key to it for me personally is the record of it. Not only does, when a client sends me a notepad message, our back office gets a copy, I get a copy, the advisor gets a copy, and then also the client gets a copy, but not just that email. It is whatever message they've sent me is permanently date time stamped on their console. Now, for an attorney, that is so invaluable for a couple of different reasons. Number one, to be able to cover everything so that if a client, says to me, hey, I want A, B, and C done, to make sure that I have done A, B, and C instead of X, Y, and Z. And conversely, also covers me so that if a client says, hey, I want A, B, and C done, and I do A, B, and C, they can't then say, no, I told you to do X, Y, and Z, which in estate planning, it's very emotional. People change their minds all the time. So to have a permanent date, time, stamp record on that of what was said and what their wishes are, then being able to translate that into the legal document just by logging in and fixing it, the legal documents real quick, is just absolutely invaluable for me. And I know that, that may sound, maybe it's not have the personal touch as like an in-person meeting, but here's the other part of it that's also crucial for an attorney is as we're doing these date time stamps, that permanent record, if their estate plan ever gets challenged, say by that firstborn son, that later comes back and, dad dies and the son come back and says, no, judge, my dad never meant to disinherit me. This was not his intent. This was not his wishes. Well, then I have a record of it permanently on their file where I can say, yes, they did. He did on this day, on this time, he sent me a notepad message saying, I'm disinheriting my son. So it does it twofold. It covers everybody so that we don't have mistakes or he said, she said, oh, I wanted my estate plan to say something different, but then also protects it from challenges later because it shows a running ledger of the client's intent. An intent is extremely important when it comes to estate planning. And it has to be in black and white too, because when a client dies, I can't exactly go to them and say, hey, what do you mean by this? So by keeping that notepad and a running ledger, we cover everybody's bounds. Everybody's covered as far as intent and challenges go, and it just works for everything. And it's very quick, fast, easy. I can approve things. I can change things in wording very fast from across the country, from anywhere. It's good for everything.
Well, so on that note, and I know that we weren't necessarily going to maybe talk about this, but I do want to touch on this because I know Stacy does, and the reason why the part of the process is doing the client training with Stacy Pearson is she knows the system inside and out. She helps teach the clients how to take ownership, and she talks about that $70 a year, being able to have the access to change, like what you were just talking about. I mean, that's the one thing that I have found in my research that end users don't realize how many constant changes need to be done, that sometimes it's to a detriment because they know, traditionally speaking, it's going to cost them $500 just to start up the car and go to the attorney's office to have this change be done. It's going to be painful. That's the one thing that we've really addressed here. Will you do me a favor and just talk about how much value having access 24/7, 365 for that very small $69 a year is for the clients that you work with?
Oh, well, it's absolutely invaluable. I mean, even my own grandpa did this. Clients, they know they need a trust. They don't know exactly what it is, or they need a comprehensive estate plan. They go to an attorney, they pay, usually a pretty penny to get all these documents drafted up. And because it costs so much on the front end, they don't go back to the attorney to make any changes. And that's a huge mistake. Like my grandpa, he had it done in 1992 and he didn't redo it until 2011. Well, if anything had happened in those years, he would have been in big trouble because the law changed. There were changes in the law. There's changes in the tax law. These documents are living documents. They have to be constantly updated based off of not just law changes, but also family changes. And he never did it because it costs money. That's the joke, right? Anytime you go into attorney and just look at them, they're going to charge you $250, right? So with this, $70 a year is, to have the client be able to know that they can log in and make those changes at any time, and that also all of their documents will be updated if the law changes, itself. We had a huge law change, 2 years ago with the tax code and all that stuff. So none of those clients had to actually physically come into my office. They didn't have to actually pay me another retainer or pay me anything to, go through and make all of line by line items. Instead, they can pay the $70. We update all that stuff digitally for them. The software actually goes through, picks out all of the provisions that have changed and replaces them with the new laws and makes restatements and all that. And so you don't have this where one of the biggest problems I have is that clients that already have trust, they'll come into me with the trust and it'll be like, 15 years old and they've never done anything and everything's changed. And you run the risk as a client then, if you don't update all your documents, of them being basically obsolete when you die, because it's referencing law that's no longer there anymore, or it's referencing a marriage that has been dissolved, or whatever life change or law change that's happened. So for $70 a month to be able to have 24-hour, 24/7, 365 access to your estate plan, it's huge. It takes the scariness of going into an attorney out of the equation.
Yeah. So, and I have this terminology that I use all the time. It's not what it costs, it's what it's worth, right? And you mentioned earlier, really $70 a year, which a lot of people are spending that, a week or a month at Starbucks, right? It's really, it is invaluable. So, well, the last thing that I want to talk about is the next step, which is really step 5, and how you set up for the client on what their next steps are, really with the advisor partner, as they go back and help to do a lot of the pre-funding and the funding steps with regards to all of their assets.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things another thing with people that already have trust that come into me, I see this all the time, is that their trusts are not properly funded, which, if you don't have a properly funded trust, then you basically have a piece of paper that is worth nothing. Okay. So you not only do you have to create the estate, you also have to take the stuff and put it into the estate. And that process is called funding in the legal field. And it's crucial that it happens. And, this also goes along with the electronic stuff, by the way, Carter. The electronic signatures law is that we are now able to make an electronic ledger of an entire estate. And yes, it takes time. And clients sometimes, as I'm going through with them, I'll show them the ledger and where they can put their house deed, where they need to put their stocks and their professionally managed accounts, their IRAs, all of this stuff. Because what we're doing is we're making a ledger of our assets for the client to put them into the trust. And when I'm explaining that to them, that's where I really get really heavy on hey, talk to Mike. Mike's going to help you with this. The next meeting that you guys are together, I'm telling you the legal ramifications of it and why you need this stuff in your trust. But the data entry portion of it, that's where you're going to talk to your advisor, Mike. Go to Mike, for example. And that really sets it up in a really nice process, because they already know they're going to have a final appointment with the advisor after me. But then when Don's been telling them, Stacy's been telling them, now I'm telling them, hey, all of your statements and all of your account numbers and everything, you got to get them all together for that last appointment. And here's why, because we're making this ledger, this inventory of your estate. And Mike, the advisor is going to come help you enter that all in. It's just a natural segue. And I've seen where by the time they get to me, they're wanting to, I have that meeting 2 weeks ago. Can't we do it tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. You got to call Mike, they get really excited at that point. It is homework. I tell them, I got you some homework you got to do, but we have our advisors here to help you along the entire way, put it all in. So it's just a seamless flow and it works really well. And I've had great success with that.
Yeah, and the thing that I love the most, and we'll wind this down, and it's a fairly seamless interview process that you have with them. The clients, they love engaging with you. They love the fact that after you're done with this conversation, that they still have access to you through the Notepad Center and everything. And I know that we teach them and train them all that stuff, which is really revolutionary. The other part that I know a lot of our advisor partners love is the fact that not only has Don and his process and Stacy and hers, and now in yours, been talking about the assets and funding the trust, but every step along the way, you're also sharing with them that, think about others that you care about, that, Mike, in this example that you use, he can help with those as well, just as easily as he was able to help with getting your estate plan done, and what we call our 90 and 90 process where, 90% of the estate plan can be done in 90 minutes or less because of how seamless and efficient that this process is. So I just wanted to touch on the fact that, that's another aspect of why this process, this conveyor belt process, as we've been calling it, has been implemented, because you're really helping set the stage for the advisor partner to be able to help a lot of other family and friends that are closely connected to people, that this isn't just a product. This is really about helping to eliminate some of the fracturing that can happen within families if this process is not done at all. Or, as you probably educate a lot of the clients on, I'm sure you get this question a lot, or you have in the past, well, I have a will. I'm done, right? I'm all set.
Right. Yeah. That's like the biggest misnomer that has been spread across is, oh, I have a will, I'm going to avoid probate. And that's why I say I lead with education, because most of my clients don't understand that if you only have a will, you're actually guaranteeing probate. That's how the law works. That's just how it is. And that's part of the presentation that we also do on the front end, and going through all of these steps and educating them over and over. It's, when you're sitting there in a lecture, you're probably going to absorb 10% of it. But if you have people repeating the same message over and over, then it starts to click more and more. So that's why I do the education, and, you need a trust to avoid probate, and, it's based out of contract law, not out of probate law, and all these things. But then it's a natural segue. I've gotten so many compliments on this system where a client will say, this has been so easy, I'm going to go tell my friends. And, the advisor will then, text me or email me and say, oh, we got another referral. We got another referral. Friends and family are coming in droves because this is such an easy process. And we've also taken the time with each individual client to educate them, walk them through, hold their hand through this whole process, and made it as easy as possible. And then it's not this big scary monster anymore. It's something actually manageable that they say, okay, well, okay, here's all my documents. It says what I wanted to say. Okay, all my stuff's in there now. And it's such an easy, seamless process that then they go tell their friends. And we all know that if you do a great job for somebody, they might go tell 3 friends, right? But if you do a bad job, they'll go tell 30. Okay, right? I haven't had that happen, the bad part of it, but I have had, the go tell 3 family members, and then all of a sudden I've got legacies coming in. I've got grandparents that then had their children come in, that now the grandchildren who are in their 30s are coming in. So that, by having hand holding basically, and I, walking them through the entire process, and taking away the mystery of the law, and showing them how easy this software system is. If my grandma at 82 years old can do this, I'm pretty sure everybody can. Grandparents are out there on Facebook too. They're logging into their checking account as well. So if you teach them not just the law, but then also the software system, and have the hand hold them all the way through, the barriers come down, and they say, hey, I can do this. I can do this myself. And it's really about putting the client back in charge. And then once they feel that they are in charge of their own estate plan, boy, their eyes light up. They get super excited. We give hugs. If I do an in-house or, in the office meeting, everybody's hugging me. It's completely opposite than when I was doing probate and divorces where everybody hated me, and then they go tell a friend, and, all of a sudden, then they go tell their church, and then all of a sudden, we get all these clients that come in on these second and third referrals because of this system and how it's made it so seamless.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, Jennifer, I know that we could go on, but the point being is that we've got a process, a proprietary process that is very efficient, it's very cost effective. It is all about putting the clients at the end of the day in total and complete control. And we do pride ourselves on that live one-on-one or one-on-many, but the live training and hand-holding every step along the way. So, do you have any last minute, anything that you want to add before we go ahead and wind her down?
Well, I just want to say one thing, that when I saw this system, it blew my mind. I used to do estate planning. Now, I started out as just a general practice attorney doing things like probate and divorces, which is terrible. It's a very toxic situation, especially probate and divorces, death and divorce, right? I couldn't do it very much longer. When I got into estate planning, I was doing it the old way, right? Where you open up a Microsoft Word document, You start building their estate plan. It might take you a month or two. Then inevitably trying to get the client to come in is like pulling teeth, and then they change their mind, and then you're back to the drawing board and all this stuff. This takes that all away, which is why I've never seen anything like this. I'm full blown ahead. I'm never going to write another estate plan the old way again, because the software, instead of hunting and pecking for the last name to change it, I think my old trust had 23 different spots where I had to put their last name. Well, it's pretty embarrassing if you are going over through it with the client and then you look down and you spelled Smith wrong, so this software system takes that completely out. The human error is completely out, not completely, but virtually completely out. And, it does all of that for me. So that's why we say 90 and 90, is because I don't have to build and compile all of these documents. The software does it for me. It's so fast, it's so quick, so easy. And by the time they're done with me, they have a full comprehensive estate plan. And then I pass them off to the advisor just to then fund the estate. Right. But I'm never going back to drafting it the old way. I will never, ever, never again, and this is just revolutionary. I've never seen anything like it. And for the last year or so, I've been using it. It has just made my life so much easier. And all of my clients are happy and excited. And, like I said, hugs and praises by the end of every phone call or every meeting. So.
Yeah, no, Jennifer, that is absolutely perfect. Fantastic. And, you're a consummate professional. We really enjoy the fact that you took the time to do your research to know just how that this can be applied to, regular everyday Americans that typically don't have access to something that they absolutely desperately need, and a lot of times don't realize just how important that it is. And that's why some of these videos we created where most clients think it's for millionaires and billionaires, and we both know that couldn't be further from the truth.
Oh,
so,
absolutely. Yeah. Most states have a floor for probate. So if you just have a will, they have a floor. In Missouri and Oklahoma, it's $40,000. So if you have a gross estate, if your gross estate's worth more than $40,000 and all you have is a will, you're guaranteeing probate. And most people don't understand that. So this flips that on that head and gets the people out of the wills into a trust, avoiding probate. It's inexpensive, it's quick, it's fast, it's easy. And like I said, we have a very personal touch, and we walk them through the whole process. And by the end of it, everybody's all smiles.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'll say, and we'll let everybody go here, I wanted to be, keep this to about 20, 25 minutes, maybe gone a little bit over that, but, it really is a seamless process, and the interview process, the applicability and review, suitability of the documents that you do it takes really no time at all. But the last thing that I really want to talk about is the fact that, this was by design to be revolutionary, but don't confuse with simple with not comprehensive.
That's true. Yeah. Just because something may, be presented as simple doesn't mean that it's not a comprehensive, encompassing everything. This estate plan is more than just a trust. Okay. We are building a comprehensive estate plan that does their trust, their pour over the wills, their powers of attorney for finances, for healthcare, their directives, if they want to leave love notes, if they want to upload pictures or movies or, all of it. It is a full comprehensive estate plan. It's not just a document that an attorney sells to you to draft up and then, lets you go on about your way and says, oh, sorry, you didn't ask me for something else. No, this is a complete comprehensive estate plan. So just because we've just manufactured our process to the point where it's very simple on the end user, they see, the stuff at the back end of being very simple, but really a lot of work has gone into it to make it seem that way. Although it is a very complicated subject, we're just so good at what we do that we make it seem very easy.
There you go. Well, that's awesome. Well, for Jennifer Surmacz, this is Carter Wilcoxon. We thank you very much for the time. If you have any additional questions about this process, or if you're in the process yourself, make sure to reach out to us. You can reach us on either our website, or you can call here at the office at 888-316-6040. Thank you very much for your time today. Jennifer, thank you again for your time, and we wish everybody a very happy new year. It is January 2nd, 2019, so we're just getting off started. So thank you all very much. We appreciate the time, and have a great day.